Hey, welcome to Triple R Ministries. Diving right in, we're covering Genesis chapters 11 through 15, covering the topics of the Tower of Babel, Shem's descendants, Terah's descendants, promises to Abram in Egypt, Abram inherits Canaan, Lot's captivity and rescue, Abram and Melchizedek, and God's covenant with Abram. Okay, so the story of the Tower of Babel. At this point in time, the entire world spoke the same language. All right, and they put together bricks, and they were building structures made of bricks and mortar, and they're like, okay, let us come together and build this city and a tower that reaches up to the heavens, so that we can make a name for ourselves and we're not scattered abroad the face of the earth. So God came down to check out the city that they were building, and he's like, okay, it's apparent that whatever man proposes to do, it won't be withheld from them. So God went down and confused their languages and confused all their tongues. So they began to speak different languages, and the building of the city and the great tower stopped, and they were scattered abroad the face of the earth. Now Shem's descendants, here in the Bible in chapter 11 of Genesis, Shem's descendants are listed leading from Shem to the birth of Abraham. It's a total of 8 generations. Now we're going to get into Terah's descendants. Terah was the father of Abram, okay? Now, Terah had a couple other sons, but at any rate, Terah's son Abram married Sarai, which is his half-sister, same father, different mother. She was barren, okay? Now they raised Abram's nephew, which is Lot, because Lot's father ended up dying an untimely death, so that was like their child. Okay, so Terah took his family and they moved from Ur of the Chaldeans to go toward the land of Canaan and end up dwelling in Haran for some time, where Terah ended up dying at the age of 205. Now in chapter 12, God makes promises to Abram. He comes to Abram and says, okay, go to this land that I will show you, and I will make you a great nation. I will bless you. You will be exceedingly blessed. Whoever blesses you will be blessed. Whoever curses you will be cursed, type of deal. And so at the age of 75, Abram left the land of Haran, which is where his father died, and came to Canaan. And the Lord appeared to him and told Abram that he will give his descendants this land as an inheritance. And Abram built an altar there and worshiped God. Now, Abram ended up going to Egypt because there was a famine in the land, okay? And Abram's wife, Sarai, was very beautiful. So Abram's like, okay, look, when we go into Egypt, I want you to say that you're my sister. So, because when these people see you, they might end up taking you and killing me if they know I'm your husband. So just say I'm your sister, so I don't end up getting killed because of you. So she's like, all right, cool. So they go to Egypt, and sure enough, they came like, ooh, who is this? And he's like, oh, it's my sister. So they end up snatching her up, took her to Pharaoh's house. Pharaoh gave Abram a whole bunch of things for her sake. Like, oh, this your sister here. Let me take her. Come here, sis. You know what I mean? And took her in his house. And God ended up plaguing Pharaoh's house with great plagues. Won't be the last time. And so Pharaoh comes to Abram. He's like, what's this thing you've done? Why didn't you tell me this is your wife? What if I slept with her and stuff like this? And Pharaoh's like, get out, take all your stuff and leave. So here we enter chapter 13, and Abram's very rich now because Pharaoh just kicked him out with all the stuff that they just gave him, right? So he's rich with silver and gold and cattle and things like this. Now, Abram and Lot started getting into it. They started having conflict because they had too much stuff and the land couldn't maintain both of them. So Abram's like, look, let us not fight. Let us not have strife or herdments or fighting with each other and stuff like this. He's like, pick whatever direction you want to go in and go that way, and I'll go like the other way. Okay? And Lot's like, okay, cool. I'm going to go towards Sodom because the land is like well watered and things of this nature. So, you know, they shook up, took off. Okay? And after Lot left, the Lord God appeared to Abram and told him to look north, south, east, and west, and told Abram that he's given all of that land to his descendants as an everlasting possession. And if he can count the dust of the earth, that's how many descendants that he'll have. He told him walk around the land that he's given to him. Okay, entering chapter 14. There was a war that broke out near where Lot was living, near Sodom. There was a war, 5 kings versus 4 kings. The 4 kings won, and one of the places that was conquered was Sodom, and that's where Lot was staying. So Lot was taken captive with the rest of the land and with the rest of the things in the land, Lot and his family. So someone escaped and ended up telling Abram about it, and Abram's like, they took my nephew. So he ran out there with 318 men. He gathered 318 servants, caught up with the 4 kings that won the war, and overtook them. Took all the spoil. We see, saved Lot and his family and took everything else. All right. Now the king of Sodom came out to meet with Abram. Before he got there, Abram ended up being met by Melchizedek. Now Melchizedek was like the priest of the God Most High. And Melchizedek came and met Abram directly after he won the war, I guess you can call it. And he brought him bread and wine. He was like, oh yeah, and blessed him and stuff like this. He was like, oh, Abraham of the, blessed by the God Most High, bless you, bless your God, and all this stuff. And Abram ended up giving him a tithe of everything that he had entirely. Okay. And after this happened, the king of Sodom approached Abram. He's like, look, man, can you just give me back my people? You can keep all the spoils, all the goods and stuff that you took. Just let me have my people back. And Abram like, man, you can have all this stuff back. Like, I raised my right hand to God. I'm not taking anything from you, so you can walk around like, oh yeah, I'm the reason that Abram's rich. He like, you can have all this stuff, minus what these few people choose that they can, these 3 men could have. It was 3 men that went with him that helped him overtake the armies. And he let them get their spoil. Okay. Now, we enter chapter 15 when God makes a covenant with Abram. God tells Abram, do not be afraid because I am your exceedingly great reward. And Abram's like, God, but I don't have no child. Will my servant Eliezer, will he be the heir of my house? And God's like, no, you will have a descendant coming from your own body. And Abram's like, how do I know this? Can you prove it to me? And God's like, okay, gather up these 3 animals, gather up these select animals at these select ages and bring them to me. So Abram went and gathered up the animals and brought them to God, split them down the middle, laid them in some type of pattern or what have you. And the vultures were trying to come and eat the sacrifices. So Abram's like scaring off the vultures, like, get away. This stuff's for God. And as the sun was setting, a deep sleep fell on Abram. And God revealed the future to him that his descendants would undergo 400 years of slavery and things of this nature. Now some time passed, and now that it's dark outside, a burning oven and a flaming torch appeared and passed between the pieces of animals that Abram collected for God. And this sign acted as a covenant between God and Abram that God would give Abram's descendants the land of Canaan from the river of Egypt to the river Euphrates as an everlasting possession. And that concludes Genesis chapters 11 through 15. The next video that I make will go in and continue the rest of Abram's life and moving forward. I hope to see you guys there. Thanks for listening. Take care. God bless.